In the summer of 1940, the world stood on the edge of collapse. France had fallen. Europe was burning. Nazi Germany, led by Adolf Hitler, had swept across the continent like an unstoppable storm. And now, only one nation stood between Hitler and total domination: Great Britain. Imagine standing on the cliffs of Dover, looking across the English Channel. On the other side, a dark cloud of war loomed over Europe. Behind that cloud was the greatest military machine the world had ever seen, the Luftwaffe, Hitler's Air Force. And soon, it would come for Britain. This is the story of how a small group of pilots, engineers, and ordinary citizens defied the odds and changed the course of history. It's the story of courage in the skies, of innovation on the ground, and of a nation's will to survive. This is the Battle of Britain. The fall of Europe. When World War II began in September 1939, Britain and France declared war on Germany after Hitler invaded Poland. But within months, the lightning speed of the German blitzkrieg overwhelmed Europe. Denmark and Norway fell, then Belgium, the Netherlands, and finally France. By June 1940, Nazi forces stood on the French coast, looking across just 21 miles of water at their next target, Britain. To Hitler, conquering Britain was the final step before global domination. He named the invasion plan Operation Sea Lion, a massive amphibious assault on the British Isles. But before his troops could cross the Channel, the skies had to be cleared. The German Luftwaffe had to destroy the Royal Air Force, the RAF. The battle for air supremacy was about to begin. The calm before the storm. Before the battle officially began, Britain was bracing for what was to come. Prime Minister Winston Churchill, newly in office, gave one of the most powerful speeches in history. Standing before the British Parliament, he said, "We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall never surrender." Those words echoed across the country. Ordinary men and women prepared for invasion, digging trenches, building air raid shelters, and blacking out their windows to hide from enemy bombers. Meanwhile, the RAF scrambled to train new pilots as fast as possible. Many of them were barely in their 20s. Some were from Poland, Czechoslovakia, Canada, and even the United States, volunteers who came to help fight the Nazi threat. They were known as the Few. Operation Sea Lion, Hitler's plan to invade Britain. Hitler's invasion plan was called Operation Sea Lion. It was simple in theory, but massive in execution. First, the Luftwaffe would destroy the RAF and gain control of the skies. Then German ships and landing craft would cross the English Channel and invade southern England. To make that happen, Hermann Göring, head of the Luftwaffe, promised Hitler that his air force would crush the RAF in just a few weeks. He was confident. After all, the Luftwaffe had crushed Poland, France, and the Low Countries with ease. But this time, things would be different. The first strikes, July 1940. On July 10, 1940, the first major attacks began. German bombers targeted British convoys in the English Channel, hoping to lure the RAF into battle. The skies erupted with the roar of engines, the flash of gunfire, and trails of smoke twisting through the clouds. For the first time, the British radar network, a secret advantage, detected the incoming waves before they arrived. Known as the Chain Home System, these radar stations along the coast gave the RAF early warning of attacks. This technology was revolutionary, and it gave Britain a crucial edge. Thanks to radar, RAF commanders could direct their limited number of fighters exactly where they were needed most. The dogfights begin. As the Luftwaffe intensified its raids, the RAF took to the skies day after day. The British Spitfires and Hurricanes became legendary. The Spitfire was sleek, fast, and agile, perfect for dogfights. The Hurricane was tougher, easier to repair, and formed the backbone of the RAF. When these planes clashed with German Messerschmitt Bf-110s, the Arab of English England turned into a deadly dance of skill and courage. Pilots described seeing friends shot down beside them, their aircraft spiraling into flames. Others barely made it back to base, their planes riddled with bullet holes. Yet, every time they landed, they refueled, rearmed, and took off again. This relentless spirit became the symbol of British resistance.
Life on the ground. While the RAF fought in the skies, life on the ground was no less dangerous. German bombers targeted airfields, radar stations, and factories. Towns and villages near the coast were hit again and again. Civilians watched helplessly as their homes were destroyed, but they refused to give up. In London, people took shelter in subway stations at night, singing songs and sharing stories as bombs fell above. Despite the fear, a sense of unity grew stronger. The entire nation became one giant family, standing shoulder to shoulder against the storm. Churchill called it Britain's finest hour. The turning point, August 1940. By August, the Luftwaffe shifted its focus. They began large-scale assaults on RAF bases, trying to wipe out Britain's ability to fight back. The attacks were relentless. The pilots were exhausted. Some flew 4 or 5 missions a day. At one point, the RAF was so short on planes that damaged aircraft were patched up overnight with whatever parts they could find. Mechanics worked under bomb blasts, racing against time. But even as the odds worsened, the British pilots refused to break. The day the battle changed, September 7, 1940. Then, something unexpected happened, and it changed the course of history. On September 7th, German bombers accidentally hit civilian areas in London. In retaliation, the British RAF bombed Berlin. Hitler was furious. He ordered the Luftwaffe to stop attacking airfields and focus on bombing British cities instead. This decision turned out to be a massive mistake. By shifting their focus to London and other cities, a campaign that became known as the Blitz, the Luftwaffe gave the RAF time to recover, repair airfields, and rebuild their forces. It was a turning point. The Blitz begins. Night after night, German bombers dropped thousands of tons of explosives over British cities. London burned, Coventry was destroyed, Liverpool and Birmingham were hit hard. Yet, despite the devastation, the British spirit remained unbroken. Firefighters, nurses, and ordinary citizens became heroes. Children were evacuated to the countryside for safety. In the dark, with sirens wailing, families huddled together, waiting for the sound of the "all clear." Churchill's voice kept the nation strong. Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. Those few, the RAF pilots, became living legends. The final phase, September to October 1940. As September rolled into October, the tide began to turn. The Luftwaffe was losing more planes than it could replace. The German pilots flying long distances from France were exhausted. The British, fighting over their own territory, could land, refuel, and get back in the fight quickly. Radar kept giving the RAF a critical edge. On September 15, 1940, a massive German attack was launched. Hundreds of bombers and fighters crossed the channel. But the RAF was ready. All across southern England, the sky exploded in one of the largest air battles ever fought. By the end of the day, the Luftwaffe had lost nearly 60 aircraft. Hitler postponed the invasion of Britain indefinitely. Operation Sea Lion was canceled. The Battle of Britain was over. Aftermath. Britain stands alone but not defeated. By the time the battle ended in October 1940, the RAF had lost around 1,500 aircraft and over 500 pilots. But the Luftwaffe had lost even more, nearly 2,000 planes and thousands of crew. The invasion of Britain never happened. The Nazis had been stopped for the first time in the war. The victory didn't just save Britain, it saved the free world. If Britain had fallen, there would have been no base for the Allied invasion of Europe in 1944. America and the Allies might never have been able to turn the tide against Hitler. The courage of those young pilots, the few, changed the course of history. The legacy. The Battle of Britain wasn't just a military victory. It was a victory of spirit, proof that even in the darkest times, courage, technology, and unity could stand against tyranny. The Spitfire and Hurricane became symbols of freedom. The British people's resilience became an inspiration to the world. Today, more than 80 years later, the story of the Battle of Britain continues to remind us what it means to fight for what's right, to stand firm even when the odds are impossible. The Battle of Britain wasn't just about planes and bombs. It was about people. It was about courage, sacrifice, and the belief that freedom was worth fighting for. If you found this story as powerful as we did, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Max Knowledge USA, where history comes alive with stories that shaped our world. Because sometimes the biggest battles aren't fought on land, they're fought in the skies above.